Hey everyone, my name is Vincent Hayes from Wallstack, and today I want to talk about the 5 levels of sequential investing. It's something I'm really passionate about because personally I've lived through different stages that I'm going to explain to you just now. And so I'm sure that if you're going to make use of what I'm going to share, it will make a big difference in terms of your financial wellness as a family. Now, at Wallstack, we pride ourselves in terms of the engagement tools that we build, both for individuals and for financial advisors to be able to track your financial goals all in one place. Now, having said that, what I think is most valuable for us is the way that we think about financial wellness. And so that really comes back to a financial wellness from a values-based approach. So the things I want to share today is 5 levels of sequential investing. And what you often find yourself is you're moving from level 1 to level 2, all the way up to level 5, just to find yourself moving back to level 3. And the reason for that is we all live different lives. We all have different families. Some families have to look after elderly parents that are costly. Some families have kids that still live at home or at university and a lot of expense on that level. Or then, life just doesn't happen and it's not always in a straight line. So I'm going to take you through those 5 levels of sequential investing. So the first level is what we call struggling. And my heart really goes out for people that's in this phase. I've been there. Most people listening to this video have been there. Maybe you've been there multiple times over the last 20 or 30 years. But this is a place where income is just enough to break even, or maybe not even enough. So often what happens in this stage is we incur credit card debt or line of credit. What I would just say, I know it's tough. I know it's very difficult to live within your means when it's going difficult. Try as far as possible not to use credit cards. Try as far as possible not to use line of credits. And the reason for that is the interest rate on that is over 20%. And what you find yourself very easily is that you pay and keep on paying interest and never be able to get out of that debt. So it's a very, very difficult stage as part of this 5-level journey, but try to limit that as far as possible, as best as you can. In level 2 is what we call surviving. Surviving is when your income is enough to pay for all the expenses. You're not incurring any credit card debt anymore. Now you're looking what else. The first thing that we would recommend to do is to start saving towards a 3 to 6 months emergency fund. That 3 to 6 months emergency fund is equal to, let's say, 3 months of the main breadwinner's income. And the reason for that is a family may experience a loss of job, for example, or a medical procedure that needs to happen that's expensive. Any other main eventuality that crosses the family's life, we want to make sure that we can sleep well at night, making sure that the cash is available. And what we would recommend is just to put into a savings account or check account, something that you can access very quickly. I would say don't worry too much about investing that 3 to 6 month cash, but just to have it available in case of any emergency. Now, once you move out of the surviving stage into level 3 is stable. And those things will be saving for furniture, for example, saving towards purchasing a car, or saving towards a home. Now, just quickly on vehicles and on property, on loans that we take out. As far as possible, try to reduce debt as best as you can. On the vehicle side, I know that we entice to buy a good type of vehicles and these kind of things, but see if you can't buy a second-hand car or a vehicle that's less costly, just to make sure you don't incur any debt on that level. And then with mortgages, most countries, it's very expensive to buy homes. We want to make sure that we obviously get to a good level from a down payment perspective. What I would just recommend families to do is not to look at your budget and to see what is the biggest amount of mortgage you can take out over a 25 period. And the reason for that is life doesn't happen in a straight line. And so what could happen is that the family's income could go up and down over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And you don't want to find yourself in a place where you put yourself under immense amount of stress to be able to afford the mortgage. So what I would rather recommend is look at something that you can pay off in 15 years' time. And yes, if it's going difficult, you can always remortgage to increase the mortgage to, let's say, 25 years. The second reason for that is if you take out a 25-year mortgage and you just add another $50 or $100 or $200 a month, depending on the size of your mortgage, you can bring that 25-year mortgage down to 15 years very quickly. Now, to move it down from 15 years to 10 years, that's going to take a lot more work in terms of payments. But just a little bit of extra, you can reduce it from 25 years to 15 years in the family. And that will make a big difference in terms of your financial wellness and your net worth in the future years. At level 4, we call it a secure level. And this is probably the place where most families want to be. At this level, we start saving for the longer term goals, like education for the kids, something like retirement, making sure there's long term savings available when we want to start scaling down and start plowing back into the community. So in this level, it's not so much about financial independence from other people, but it's really to make sure that we get enough income in the future so that we are not a burden for other people, but we can plow some of our resources back into the community. So again, in this level, it's exciting time. Start saving towards the long-term future. And again, with this level on the WealthStack platform, we are very clear with the goals for clients to be able to understand how much that education goal is and how much the retirement goals are for the family and what we need to do to be able to get there. The last level is level 5, which is surplus. Now, not too many families get to this level, but it's an exciting place. This is a place where there's more than enough for retirement and for education. So more than enough in our world means, let's say you need to save, take a number, $3 million to be able to retire and to be able to scale down in the future years. We would say more than enough is at least 20% above that. So you want to make sure there's a 20% margin above the level that we want to save towards. And now we really go into the place of surplus. So we've got more than enough. We can start using some of those surplus for legacy purposes to put money into a donor advised fund, for example. But as a family, you can also start investing a bit more aggressively. So meaning you can put money into venture capital funds and initiatives, maybe start a second business with some other people, investing in higher risk equities, and even go into hedge funds and alternative investments as well. Obviously, a great stage of life if you get into that place. But as we know, as the assets increase, our opportunity set increases, but also the complexity. So in this level, it's important to understand what are the level of commercial structures you have to put in place, holding companies and operation companies to reduce tax as far as possible for the future. So that concludes the 5 levels of sequential investing. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and we will gladly help you in the process and the level where you are and see what we can do to help you move from one stage to the next. I would just say, it's something that I learned myself. It doesn't matter whether you move from a 2 to a 3 to level 4 and back to level 2. A couple of things there, making sure that I don't compare myself with other people. Be thankful for what I have. This is the stage of my life. This is what I have. And then thirdly is to make sure that I'm content with the assets and the resources at the moment. Thank you so much, and we look forward to connecting with you. Bye-bye.